This is one of the simplest games on Roblox, but it still has millions of players, and it's called Steal a Brainrot. But surely I could make a game better than this, so I spent dozens of hours making Steal a Brainrot, but better. The first thing I had to do was come up with an original idea, as copying the game exactly would get no players. And after looking at dozens of other games, I decided to make Steal an Anime. Units would spawn on a conveyor and you'd be able to buy them to make them go to your base. I started with the map, and after some hours I'd turn this empty base plate into this. There's 8 bases that will be assigned to a player when they join the game, and there's a conveyor, but right now there's no units that actually walk across it, so let's get started on that. I started by making a function for spawning a unit by generating a random number and deciding a rarity based on this number. Then it takes a random unit from this rarity and clones it, putting it in the workspace. This function is called every 3 seconds, so characters are always spawning at a constant rate. I added some text above their head to show how much they cost, and added a proximity prompt so players could buy them and bring them to their base. There is also a pity system which guarantees certain rarities to spawn after a certain amount of time. Now that you can buy characters, you need to actually earn money from them, so I added a script that loops through the player's base every second to see if a stand has a character on it. And if it does, it adds money every second. But it was still missing something. One of the key features of the biggest games like Steal a Brainrot and Grow a Garden: earning offline. This single feature alone has probably helped these games get millions of players. I quickly added this by just calculating how many seconds the player was gone from the game for, then multiplying that by the character's money per second. Now whenever a player goes offline, their units will continue to earn money, encouraging them to come back to the game later. After finishing the core gameplay, I started working on the stealing and selling system. When you walk up to a character, you can sell it if it's yours, or steal it if it's someone else's. When you steal a character, your movement will be slowed down and an alarm sound will be played for the person being stolen from, to let them know one of their characters is being stolen. But right now there's no way to actually stop people from stealing your characters, so I quickly added a punching system. Now when someone steals from you, you can punch them and the character will be returned to your base. After finishing the core gameplay, I started working on the other smaller features, but before I could add them, I needed to make some icons for the options, so I used Figma to make some icons for the index, the shop, inviting friends, and rebirthing. I started with the index by assigning a table to the player, which contains every unit when they join the game. And whenever they buy a character, the unit in the table will be set to true and their index will be updated in the menu. Then I started working on the shop, because how would I make Roblox without any game passes or dev products? I started by going back to Figma and making some simple icons for the game passes, which were double money, VIP, and 2x offline earnings. Then I made a background icon which I used for the money developer products. I also added server luck just like Steal a Brainrot, so players could increase their chances of getting a secret with some Robux. The next thing I did was make the thumbnail by first exporting the characters directly from Roblox Studio as .obj files, then loading their appearances onto some rigs so I could change their poses. After that, I placed lights around the characters to make sure they were well lit and that the image wouldn't be too dark. Then I rendered the image at a high resolution and exported it as a PNG. After that, I opened the image in Photopea, where I added a background and some outlines on the character along with some other effects and text to make it stand out more when someone sees it. And this was the final product, which I think looks pretty good. The next thing I added was an item shop which would be able to help people steal characters from other players. I added a bear trap, a speed coil, a gravity coil, a fusion coil, an invisibility cape, a Medusa's head to turn people to stone and freeze them, a web slinger, a laser gun to shoot people when they steal your characters, and a cloner which you can use to clone yourself and swap places with. And a body swap potion to swap positions with someone. I also added rebirthing, which requires 2 characters per rebirth and a certain amount of money. When you rebirth, you get some extra money and you also get a money multiplier, plus a new item that you can buy from the shop. The last thing I added were playtime rewards to encourage players to play for longer. And now the game was finished and the link will be in the description. Like and subscribe and leave a comment of any bugs you find so I can fix it and give any suggestions for any new updates.